Hey there, so here's a video where I'm just trying to go through the oscillator section on the MicroFreak and try to explain what each type is. And so I've just called up a init preset, which is short for initialized, or just a basic, the most basic preset you can get on the unit. Very straightforward, but it includes everything, is where, just a good starting place for you. So if I do that, yours might not be 65, you might have other presets, but if you get far enough up on the preset scroll, you can get to one of these inits and follow along if you want to, or just listen in. So the type is the type I turn to change the type of synthesis that's happening in this. And so I don't mean oscillator type, I mean whole type of synthesis, you'll see. So if I just play it right now, the type is actually the basic waves type. See, I can scroll through a bunch of them. You kind of see it happening, and you can certainly try this on your own. But if I go the most counterclockwise, it's basic waves. What that does is it starts at a preset up there. It starts at the bottom, which is a square wave, and then goes up to kind of a saw wave sound, and then kind of like two saw waves interacting together. And the other, this second, so that was just wave. The timbre knob changes kind of how the waves are being drawn, basically. If I start down here with that square wave, this is actually changing the pulse width, or the spacing between the waves. And then this is actually, the third is adding a sub oscillator. You can hear it coming in there, hopefully. Okay, so that's just some basic waves. It doesn't unfortunately tell you what type they are, which is what superwave is kind of nice. Superwave has more than one wave. It's detuned, I think it's set standard at 50, and we could turn it all the way down to be totally in tune. But there's a couple waves at a time playing. And if we go, we can change that. So we can go square, triangle, and then we go all the way up to a sine wave. And then this is just the volume. So on a sine wave, it's quiet because it doesn't have as much energy. So oh, I think that's the volume of the detuned wave. Yeah, so that shape, this volume here is the volume of the secondary wave that's combining with the first. If I turn that down, the effect of having that second wave is less. And then, so I could detune it a little less and make it a little bit more palatable. It goes saw wave. So this is kind of what they sound like, especially if you pull all the detune down and or the volume down. You could just hear the basic sine wave, triangle wave, square wave, sawtooth wave. So they're in there, which is kind of nice. You have all the basic building blocks. I go to the next is a wave table, and I have a whole bunch of different tables, which is just a whole bunch of different collections you can think of waveforms. And then I can pick where I'm at, which waveform in that collection I'm kind of picking out, and you can kind of morph between them. And then this is just a chorus effect on the oscillators themselves. Get some great sounds out of that. So here's the harmo, they call it. And this one, the content is kind of adding more harmonics. You can hear it just gets more and more kind of bright, which is just adding more harmonics. The sculpting, it kind of changes a little bit more towards a triangle wave up high, which adds another way to add some harmonics. And then again, we have kind of a chorus amount. Okay, oh, missed one. Carplus strong is a way to emulate physical modeling, which in this case, oh, I keep bumping my phone who's on the stand. Sorry about that. but this is the amount of bow. So there's like a hitting of an object and a bowing of an object, and this is a mathematical model. And then this is the position on the object, which makes it sound different. And the amount of decay, which in this case is kind of the oscillator, which is a resonance. If you know the word decay otherwise, it's not the same word. Okay, then we got some virtual analog synths, and then this is the detuning. You can actually hear it goes out of tune. So on this one, you can actually, if I get up towards 50, it seems like it's the most in tune. I can detune either up or down. And then here, this is the shape. Just adding some extra harmonic content to it. And then this is, I think, where on the wave you are. Maybe, sure, like it seems like it's going from a sawtooth wave. It might be the angle of the wave, which would change it from a triangle to more of a sawtooth. That's what it sounds like. Okay, the next is a wave shaper. So that's very similar to kind of a wave table. So, but you're actually not looking up on a group of waves. You're actually just shaping the waves that you that are already in there. So that would be just the initial waveform. So again, kind of sounds like it's selecting the waveform there, going up and down with the amount of wave shaping or folding that happens. And then this sounds like it's bending the wave to the side. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but it's basically just mathematically modulating the wave. Let me see. So then we got FM synthesis, and this is the ratio between two oscillators, and you can see you can kind of get pretty gritty. You go up depending on your ratio. Start to get some really interesting tones, and there's some ratios that are more compatible. Here's the amount of that, and then how much feedback is going back to the first oscillator. We'll talk about FM synthesis a little bit more later. That's the second type of oscillator combination. So then we have a couple more. So formant. This is basically modeling a voice formants. And this is frequency in the first one, and then the original formant frequency, and then width and shape. It says shape. So just basically you can model some kind of vocal sound with that. Chords, play chords, and you can determine the type of chord you're playing, and then the transposition of that, and the waveform that you want to use to play those chords. The speech is pretty fun, because in the, say, you could see it's here it's saying frequency, but if I Juliet, is what I'm hearing on that. So as you go down the type, there's actual vocal sounds that it's synthesizing. And then here is the timbre, and oh, here's the word that you're finding. There's violet. Go down. Yellow. Orange. So where I'm at with the word type, it's the colors now, and I can change it to something else. That doesn't sound like it's actually any words. So next type is modal. Modal is kind of another type. We're not going to get into that in this class, but it's a type that would inharm is actually inharmonicity, which is the amount of kind of dissonance that you have. And then here's again kind of the timbre, hear how it changes, and the decay. Again, it's kind of like a physical modeling type of thing. Go to a noise. So this is great because you can hear different types of noise, and it goes all the way up to kind of a metallic sounding. If you go all the way down, it's just white noise. And then the brightness and the balance. So noise, this is just only noise, and then you go up and you can hear there's kind of adding another oscillator to the noise, which is sometimes helpful. Okay, here's a bass synthesizer. Again, amount of saturation or distortion, which adds harmonics. You have the amount of wave folding, and you have some noise, so you can make some pretty intense sounds. And again, we're not doing anything else for the rest of the synthesizer, so there's lots of ways that we could change this. Okay, saw X is just a basically a different type of sawtooth wave that's good. It's a kind of analog emulation. There's some noise there, the shape of the wave, and the amount of gain of modulus. So that's how much it's actually affecting being modulated. Let me see. So this is another harmonic type. This is adding some. This you could change the spread of the harmonics. And rectifying is an electronics term, but it means how it's kind of folding back on itself, and then adding some noise. And then the last one, you have to hook up a microphone. Oh, I'm sorry, there's a few more, right? Because they added more. Wave user, you can put in your own waves, which is cool. They have a sampler, so if I had a sample in there, you could change the sample start time and the length of the sample and where it loops. So that's pretty handy. And then you have a couple grain oscillators. And grain oscillation, granular synthesis is when you kind of take a sample and you chop it up into really super fine bits. And so this will let you play those little bits. And you could do it as scanning, or you could do it as a cloud, or as different hits. Then, okay, so those three granular synthesis are new, and the sample is too. And then you get the vocoder, which you actually need a microphone on the back to hook up to. Okay, so there's the oscillators of the MicroFreak, just in kind of general terms, and I'll link to some descriptions which might provide a little bit more context to those.